Hello, my name is Doris and I am Little Bird Products. Welcome back if you've been here before. And if you're new here, thank you for joining us. And I know you hear this a million times, but if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe because it does help me. And please do watch the video from beginning to end, or at least play it from beginning to end. That really helps my watch hours. And I appreciate you being here. What I wanted to do today was give you a recap of what I've been able to accomplish for the week and also talk a little bit about what my goals are for this next week and what I'm going to be working on. And I'm going to do a little tutorial at the end, so please stick around if you have any interest in my scrap busting needle felting. I am on a continued quest to find different ways to use my scrap. I showed one last week or a week ago where I did some, well, I call it needle felting, but I used my serger scraps, and I'm using them to make new material to make pockets, and I'll show you that here, what those look like, and they turned out really cute. What I'm doing with the needle felting, as I'll show you in the tutorial at the end, it's something I started a while ago, and I'm going to do a little more research, and I'll tell you that when I get to the tutorial about what machines have the attachments for needle felting. That I haven't used that as much as I thought I would, but it is really nice. And again, it's a way to use up some of your scraps. I used it for my denim and some of my fleece scraps. The other things that I have been working on this week is I have a continued journey with my WhatNot shows. If you haven't joined me on WhatNot, please do. You can find me at Little Bird Products. Just look me up. I did a show, I've done 2 shows now. I did my first show last week, and then yesterday, Friday, I did my second show, and I did it solo. That was my first solo show. And I can tell you that it was, well, it's possible to do a show by yourself. It is a little daunting, and it was a very jam-packed hour, and I was really tired at the end of it. So I am going to have my sewing bud and my fellow whatnotter, Tammy, help me, I hope, with all my future shows. You just really need to have somebody, to be efficient, you need to have somebody be able to watch the comments as they come in, and as people are joining the show, to be able to let me know to greet them. Because when you're showing your products, it's difficult to have an eye on the screen. I mean, you have to get your face right up to it. Nobody wants to see my face that close. So it's been fun. We haven't sold anything yet, but right now it's more of a learning experience as opposed to a selling experience. And I have left my ruffled shirts in my WhatNot shop. So if you're interested in seeing those, go over to WhatNot, look up Little Bird Products, and then click on the shop icon. And you can see them. They're listed as buy it now, but you can make an offer on those. And that's the way we chose to do it, because it's simply easier, and it's not because we're lazy. Because if we were lazy, we'd be selling more and we'd just be making at auctions and selling things for a couple of bucks. But we're trying to learn as we go, and we're trying to take it one step at a time. And we want to grow our community over there, our community of customers. And right now, it's not about, selling those things $1 or $2 at a time. What we will be doing is switching days and also switching focus a little bit. I know I'm segueing, I am going into WhatNot, but it has consumed a big portion of my week, or, a big portion of my thought process. And, at 77, my thought process, I don't have a lot of capacity left to squeeze anything else in, but watching WhatNot shows, I can do that in the evening, and it doesn't require anything of me other than just to watch and have some fun and see what other buyers and sellers are doing on WhatNot. And it is kind of a nice platform. I can say I am pretty much enjoying it. I haven't bought anything yet, and I'm not in the process of buying, but it is fun to see Some people are actually making a living selling things on WhatNot. We're not doing it for that. We're looking for another customer base and another selling avenue to help supplement our Etsy sales. So hopefully it'll be good for that. I do see other sellers that are similar to us that are doing handmade and upcycling and selling on WhatNot, and some of them seem to be very successful. So we're trying to learn from them as we go along. So that's been an interesting part of the week. Oh, and we are switching to be, we're going to do the next 10 shows on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Central Time. So please tune in. You don't have to buy anything. It just helps to have an audience count and also helps to have some nice comments to encourage us as we go along. And that's Little Bird Products on WhatNot. Right now, it's on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Central Time. But if you go on and you find Little Bird Products, you can see our shows when we're going live. And then the other thing, probably the most important thing, is what I was able to accomplish this week is I did make 2 kimono jackets. I'm pretty pleased with them. They're what I call my scrapbuster kimonos because I have some nice pieces of vintage chenille, and that's what I used for these in here. And this one, I was able to use all of my parts of this particular chenille that has a really nice trim border on it, and I cut those borders and used them all over the jacket. And then this one, which I really like, I did put some special aqua chenille that I had with fringe on it along the back, and also to help make the sleeves a little longer. And they're both one of a kind. You'll never find another kimono jacket quite like that. And I'm going to be putting those in the Etsy store today. Hopefully I can get it done today. And the other thing I made is I made a few more denim and cantha shirts, and I'll show those here and here. And what I liked about that is I had a piece of cantha. You know, you never know what you're going to get when you order cantha, and that's K-A-N-T-H-A, cantha. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And that, for those of you who don't know what cantha is I think it's India's version of quilting, because it's just cotton and it's pretty much scrap fabric. Some of it's leftover sari fabric, and it's just 2 pieces of cotton that are sandwiched together, wrong sides together, and then they use a running stitch. I forget what they call it. I'm just going to call it a cantha stitch, and that's how they quilt it. So it has no batting in between it, and so it is reversible. You can use either side. The way I use it as the sleeves and open the sides of my denim shirts, it makes the denim shirts, no matter what size they are, when I make them, it makes them pretty much one size fits most. And I'm very pleased with how these turned out, because I happen to have these piece of cantha that has some tulips printed on it. So I really like the tulips. So I like the colors of these, and I think you'll enjoy those. I'm hoping to get those in my Etsy shop today too. And then I did get my t-shirt shirts, what I'm calling my t-shirt shirts. I did have the first viewing of those on my WhatNot show this week. I didn't sell any there, but I did list those on Etsy. What I haven't gotten around to putting on Etsy yet, and I may wait another week for that, is my ruffled shirts that I showed you last week that I'd been working on. And those are in my WhatNot shop. So if you're interested in one of those, just go to WhatNot, Little Bird Products, and look at the shop, and you can buy them there. And they are a little less expensive there than what they're going to be on Etsy, because Etsy as a platform in general is a little more expensive. Now, with all that in mind, I'm going to segue into my tutorial on my needle felting and how I set that up. And I'll also put in the description some links to some other tutorials on needle felting. And if you haven't done it or you haven't looked into it at all, it is, from my perspective, it was a very interesting concept. And it was a couple of years ago that I did all this research on it, because again, I was on a quest to see what I could do with my scraps, because in rescuing clothes from going to the landfill and upcycling them, I didn't want to make more scraps of fabric that contributed to the landfill. So I was looking for ways to use those. And at the time, I was very enamored with big versions of needle felting machines. And I think at the time, a lot of the fabric producers and designer shops were investing in these needle felting machines. And I don't know, maybe they've been around for a while, but they were new to me. And I'll put some links in the description to other YouTube videos where you can learn more about those if you're interested in them at all. And basically, a needle felting machine, not my tutorial, because mine is a very tiny version of that. It's a machine that's set up where there's a series of these needle felted needles, and what they are is they're really knives with little barbs on the end, but they're shaped like a needle, and they go in a machine. And what happens is it's usually a big long machine. They're more commercial and more expensive than I would ever invest in. So my little one needle embroidery machine is the very teeny tiny version, does the same thing as these do. So there's a big long band of these needles, and what happens is the way this machine is laid out, you will take typically gauze or some thin type of fabric that's permeable pretty much. Linen is used sometimes for that too. And then a lot of people use this for what I would call abstract art, because when you lay out all of these scraps and they lay them out in a way that when it's felted, it kind of makes a picture. It's really pretty. And they'll run it in and out under those felting needles. The machine does this back and forth, and it actually takes and embeds those scraps, that fabric, it meshes it into that other sheet of fabric and makes new fabric. And in the process of doing that and the way that they lay it out, it actually can create art, like a tapestry. But it actually creates new material that then they can cut and sew and make it into art jackets, a lot of different things. And at the time I was really enamored with this. I thought, I make a lot of jackets. Wouldn't that be neat to take all my scraps, make more fabric, and make a scrappy scrap felted jacket? I still have that back in this little corner of my mind, but I have so many other things that I'm working on right now. I might make that a fall project for next year after my shows are over, maybe December, January. I'll revisit it and see if there's some way of doing that in a more economical way that accomplishes the same thing. What I've been doing with my pockets that I showed you in the beginning with scraps is kind of a little different version of doing that, where you're making new fabric with your scraps. It's just doing that in a way that's not so time consuming, and it's not costing me more in time and effort, than what it's worth. But I can envision perhaps doing that and doing some kind of a needle felted scrap patchwork project, if I can figure out how to get it down to where it's lightweight enough that I'd want to have many layers of that. So anyway, it's just another interest, and I thought you might be interested in it. And one of my subscribers actually commented that they'd like to see that tutorial. So that's coming on the end. Stick around for that. And thank you for watching. Bye. Okay, what I had told you I was going to do, I'm going to start to do. I'm going to show you how I do what I call my scrap busting needle felting. And I haven't done this for a long time, so you'll be learning along with me. This is my needle felting kit for my Husqvarna Viking. And there's a couple little designs, it says free designs, but that's, they're built into the machine. And this package, back when I bought it, and it's been a while ago, cost me about 75 bucks. And what it includes is these pieces right here. And this is basically what that $75 bought me. These are the needles that are for needle felting. And if you look super close, which I don't know if you can see on this, they don't really have like a point at the end. It's like a barbed knife, okay? And then this is the placement needle plate. This replaces the bobbin. Basically what it is fakes the machine out into thinking that it has a bobbin in it, because there's no bobbin thread used. And this is the foot that goes on. I've taken my foot off, and then there's the thing that you use to attach the foot. So I'm going to take this over to my embroidery machine, which I've kind of dismantled already. You have to take the foot off. That's this piece. That's the foot shank, you know, that your foot goes on. This is the needle plate, because you don't do this because you'll replace it with that. This is to hold your needle, to put the needle in. Of course, this is the plate that covers it, and there's my little tools. And this is a computerized machine. So once I change this, I will be coming over here and going to, there is a program for needle felting, so it'll go in there. And then of course there's my embroidery arm, and I have to put that in. And then over here I have my material already hooped using my magnetic hoop. I like these magnetic hoops. You don't have to have a magnetic hoop, but it works better. And they're not very expensive. And I'm going to do an embroidery on a denim sleeve that I'm going to make into a pocket, and I'm just going to do a little embroidery image on here. Now, this is upside down, because when you use this technique of embroidering on it, all right, this you embroider actually on the back side, because what it does, that needle, it will take and felt the design through. So you'll see it stitches on this side, but what it's really doing is it's not stitching thread, it's pushing the fabric through. Now what I do, what they show in, and I'll link this in the description, they show you how to actually set up this kit and everything for the Husqvarna Viking. I know that I looked, and some of the brother machines have an attachment, and actually they have actual needle felting machines. There's an Elna, there's been a few others that are around for a while. They're not very expensive machines, because basically, you know, they don't use any thread. They use these needles, so probably your expense is more in the machine than the needles. And you can, if you're going to do a lot of this, you might want to invest in a machine. But I already have this single needle machine. It has a kit. It was worth the $75 or whatever it cost me back then. It's probably cheaper now, because it's an older machine. It's at least, maybe it's 10 years old now, 10 or 12 years old. But it's kind of a fun project to do. And what I'll do is I have to go and dig out one of my pieces of fleece material. And I haven't tried it with anything else. I just know the fleece is kind of nice. You can use wool roving like they use for regular needle felting. You can put that over the back here. I'm going to try later, since I've not done it before, I'm going to try putting some scrap fabric on here, kind of like I do for my fabric pockets, and see if it'll felt those scraps through. I think it will, but that'll be kind of fun, you know, to see a project, to see if it'll push those scraps through, so I can use them in the place of like wool roving or whatever, and make my embroidery image on the other side. So might be kind of fun. And I know there's other little, you can do needle felting with, you know, just regular needles that you daub in and out, but that's a lot of work, hand work. This saves all that hand work of the needle felting. So give me a couple minutes. I'm going to go set my machine up, and I'm not going to show you doing that because I'll probably drop the needles a million times and do other futzy things. But you know, the YouTube tutorial that's actually put out by the Sewing Machine Embroidery Warehouse, I think. Anyway, it's a really good tutorial that she walks you through setting the machine up. So I'll do that, have it set up, and then I'll come back and show you working its magic. And hope a little. Now that I had to re-familiarize myself with my single needle embroidery machine, you can see I have a piece of this scrap fleece, no-pill fleece, that I use when I make my book pocket pillows, and I usually end up with some fairly good sized scraps. So what I did is I loaded this little embroidery image, and because I put my needle felting kit on my machine, and you have to watch that other video, that little tutorial of how to do that, where it fakes the machine out. This is the foot that does the needle felting, and what really makes it work is faking the bobbin out to think that you have thread in it. And you can see there's no thread in my machine at all. And so what is happening there is the needle that I'm using, it's not a regular needle, it's the needle felting needle that comes with the kit. And it's a little shorter needle, but it just has a barbed blade. And you see this foot? It's just a round thing that has a hole in it. And what's happening is this is the wrong side of that piece of denim. It's basically a pocket. And I've centered the design on this, right? And so the machine thinks it's actually taking the thread and guess what? My embroidery is finished. Oh, well, I'm gonna take the test and look at the other side of it. Hang on. Cute. Look at that. This is the right side. See that? That's a no thread. Oh, and it feels so good, so soft. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? I don't even think it needs done twice. Okay, now on to the other sleeve. I'm gonna go look and see if I can find another piece to do the other pocket. But for right now, I'm gonna unhoop that and show you laid out what it looks like. These little magnets, they just want to ball up against themselves. There is the finished product. Isn't that cool? See that? And so what I can do is I can just cut this out. Then I'm going to take and sew it together that way, and I have my pocket. Oh, love it, love it, love it. Don't you just love it? Ah, it's so cool. So now I need to go and do the same flower, find a piece of orange that can stitch it through. See? Isn't that cool? Ah, love it. I haven't done this for a while. Thank you. I can't remember who asked me to show you how to do this, but this has been fantastically fun. Next week when I do my video and I'm finished with the shirt with these pockets on it, I'll put a picture of the pockets in there. Thank you for joining me.